We all know about the United States budget deficit, but what about your cities? When a government entity is spending more money than it is making, then that means it is running at a budget deficit. This is possible through loans the municipality has taken out to allow for capital expenditures. And these capital expenditures are used to fund projects like construction, infrastructure update, or expansions on whatever the local government has decided on. So without further ado, let's find 5 cities running on a budget deficit. The first city I'm highlighting today is Austin, Texas, with a budget deficit of 0.5%. It's not a crazy deficit, but Austin does stand out as the only major city in Texas to be running at a deficit. Next city on this list is Minneapolis, running on a 2% deficit. Another city on the deficit is New York City, where the expenses for the city are 2.1% higher than the revenue. And something that stands out for NYC is that they have an extremely high revenue per resident at $14.4 thousand. For comparison, the nation's revenue per resident is $6,900. Moving on to another city in debt is San Francisco, running on a 3.4% deficit. And the last city I'm highlighting on this list with the highest deficit is Atlanta, Georgia, with a deficit of 6.7%. So to look into Atlanta further, some areas where Atlanta is spending more on are operations, public welfare, with public welfare spending being almost 3 times the nation's in that subcategory. There's also more spending on government administration and a lot of interest from debt. Now, it's important to remember that governments being in a deficit isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if it means that a city is investing in its growth. But with Atlanta's situation, I think they just need to adjust some of their spending. All the data used was sourced from Ursus.com, and be sure to follow to learn how